Hey everybody, and welcome to the second instalment of my top 50 board games of all time for the 2021 into 2022 season. So of course I'm talking from number 40 to number 31 in this episode, and out of all the different segments of this top 50, this one is the one that's changed the most, with the most new games, with a massive 7 new games. So let's get started at number 40. So at number 40 I have Hansa Teutonica. So despite this one being one of the most revered Euro games of all time, and of course me being a massive Euro game lover, I never managed to get this one played until this year, and what a silly decision that was. This game is absolutely incredible, one of the best route building games out there, as you're trying to connect these cities by putting cubes in them, and you're basically just taking actions by building up these different roads, and then if you claim a road, then you are going to remove those cubes and claim a city next to those roads. But if people claim those cities before you, then they can potentially gain points from doing so, and as you're taking more and more of these actions, you can potentially unlock more and more abilities, or upgrade your abilities and what you can do throughout the game, such as being able to take more actions, being able to get more points for each of your cities in those routes, being able to move more cubes around more freely, being able to get into better spots in those cities, and you really want to do everything in this game, and doing everything is very hard. It's quite in your face in the way it plays, because sometimes very often people will just block your route just for the sake of it, because you have to pay more to move them out of the way, but when you do move them out of the way, they get compensated from doing so, and of course you can return the favour by doing that. So despite being quite in your face, there is a reason for the conflict, and the actual other person does benefit from doing so. One of the most elegant and streamlined games I have in terms of its rules overhead. Just take, I think it's one of maybe just 3 or 4 actions, and most of the time you're doing the same thing anyway. And yeah, what a streamlined system, a great amount of engine building, despite having no convolution to the rules at all. And it's clear to see why a game like this has dated so well. This one is over 10 years old now. It still feels fresh, and it doesn't feel like it's going to get tired, or I'm going to get tired of it anytime soon. I've got the big box version, which came out as a reprint this year, I think, or maybe last year. And despite having all the different maps in the box, I've only ever played the base game one, and there's still so much more mileage in that base game alone. So love this game, so much to explore, and a real tight, tense experience. That is Hansa Teutonica at number 40. At number 39, I have Tawantinsuyu, which is another new game on the list. So this one is almost like a sister game to the T series of games. So normally designed by Daniel Tascini, this one is designed by David Turcz. And out of all the T games, this one is probably in the top 3 in terms of its complexity and rules overhead. And to be honest, this one is quite an overwhelming game in terms of its iconography and symbology on the board. There really is a lot to look at. And that can put some people off, but I don't think it's too bad in the way it actually functions. So the idea of this game is it's a worker placement game, but you're going to have to manage the worker placement spots with cards you have in your hand, because you need to have a matching card with a matching worker placement spot in order to go there. And the further you go down this temple, the more resources you potentially have to pay, unless you build these staircases to mitigate that price. And I like the compounding benefit of this game, because when you go to a worker placement spot, additionally you might only get 1 reward, but if you match colours with coloured meeples, then you can potentially get 2 or 3 or even 4 rewards by taking a single action. And you're basically building buildings, you're climbing temples, you are trying to control these different area majority spots on the corner of the boards to get bonuses and additional points. Really a lot going on here. It's a bit of a kitchen sink style game, and sometimes the rules aren't the most intuitive. It can be a bit overwhelming at times, but the gameplay completely warrants that, because it's crunchy, it will really get you thinking, and I really like it. And the more I play it, the more I like it. So number 39, Tawantinsuyu. At number 38, I have Las Vegas Royale. So polar opposite game to a game like Tawantinsuyu. This is a very light dice rolling style game with an element of area majority, as you are rolling a cluster of dice, and then you're picking one of the pip values that's been rolled and allocating it to a matching casino. And the idea is that once everybody's used all their dice, whoever's got the majority on each of those casinos is going to get a bigger check allocated to those spots, and whoever's got the second most is going to get the second check, and so on. But there's some twists in this game where if you ever match the value of another player, say I had 4 dice somewhere, my opponent had 4 dice somewhere, but the other person only had 3 dice there, because we both have 4, we'll actually cancel each other out, and therefore the player with the 3 dice there will now be the leader. So that's a really interesting decision to try and manage and try to overcome and use to your benefit. But additionally, I really love the mini games that you can assign to all these different casinos. So when you go to a certain spot, you get to do these really fun little activities, such as doing this kind of high or low, the Price is Right style game, or you could try and guess how many tokens are in someone's hand and get more points that way. You can do this basically this jackpot style mechanism as you try roll dice and get a 7, and if you don't, the bonus goes up and up and up. So I love all these different things that just add a little bit of flavour. Probably one of the most unanimously loved games that I've ever brought to the table. Whoever I've played this with adores it, and probably one of the lightest games I have, with such a high level of praise. I give this one my elite shield, and I rarely do that for a game of this weight, because this one is so much fun. It's an absolutely essential for me. This one made this was the #1 spot of essential games that I considered, or at least put on that list. So yeah, couldn't recommend this one enough for families, for just general gaming nights. This one is an absolute hit. That is Las Vegas Royale at number 38. At number 37, I have Signorie. So this was last year's number 23. This one is a dice drafting game with some set collection. You've got your classic track climbing as well. But I love the twists on the dice drafting in this game, as you really need to consider what you're drafting. Not only are the high numbers great because they can potentially make you pay less for taking certain actions, but taking low values are good because they keep you below a threshold. And if you're below that threshold, then you get quite a nice bonus at the end of the round. But low values aren't so great because it means you have to pay money, and money is very tight. So I love that consideration. Additionally, it has a real interesting element of engine building. As you take more colours, you can potentially get kind of follow-on benefits, such as climbing tracks or making new family members. And I love just all the different things you can go down. Do you want to focus on marrying your daughters off to different families? Do you want to focus on climbing these tracks by sending your sons off to these different disciplines? Do you want them going into the royal fold? Do you want them going to the military? Do you want them to kind of go into the more religious side of things? And you're going to get points accordingly to that. You're trying to collect these different flags in order to score set collector bonuses. And really is so much to explore here. A real gamer's game, but out of all the dice drafting games, this one does do something a bit different in terms of what's going through your mind when you're drafting these dice. And I think this game is a joy to play. It can go a bit long at times, but the gameplay does warrant that. It's a real meaty, thinky game, and it is very satisfying once you get an engine going and can start getting real powerful benefits by drafting particular colours of these die available. So love this one, still great. Number 37, Signorie. At number 36, I have In the Year of the Dragon by Stefan Feld. This was last year number 26, so it's fallen 10 places, but previously it has placed as low as 54. And ironically, I actually like this game the more I play it. So every time I play this one, my appreciation goes up and up and up. And the only reason why this one's fallen is simply because I've played so many new games, and some of them I like more than this one. But this is still excellent. I love this. And out of all the Stefan Feld games, this one probably feels the most different out of all of them, as normally Feld is known for his more point salad style games, as you're getting points for doing anything really. This one, getting points is like pulling teeth. It's very hard to get anything done because you are constantly managing this barrage of horrible things that are happening to you. You're having to overcome basically like disease and famine and drought and all these different things that are constantly hitting you, and you have to have the right staff members in your pagodas at the right time in order to overcome those horrible things that are happening. So this really is a game about weathering the storm, trying to come out the other end as strong as you can and try to mitigate those horrible things. But sometimes there'll be a little bit of opportunity to jump in there and try and grab some points. But it really is a game about spinning as many plates as you can. You need buildings in order to accommodate all your different staff members, but by having more staff members means you have to pay more in terms of food and money to keep the upkeep of those buildings going. And everything is such a tight resource in this game, and it really does feel like you're just going to fall off the rails and not get anything done and just crash and burn. Sometimes that will happen, but more often than not, you'll impress yourself by thinking outside of the box and preparing at the right time. Know when to drop things out of your fold. I don't need you anymore, so you can go. You're sacked, and I'll get someone else to take your place because we got new things to overcome and try to get past. What a game this one is! Absolutely fantastic, unique. Nothing like it at all, and if you like, if you're a slave for punishment and you like overcoming things, then this is the best example of that one. This is an amazing game that is in the year of the dragon. At number 35, I have another new entry with Pulsar 2849. This one is another dice drafting game set in space, and a bit like Signorie, this one does take the dice drafting genre and do something a little bit different with it. This one is more of a point salad style game, as you've got loads of things to explore. You can get new technologies. You can travel around the map and visit all these different planets and drop your kind of influence along the way. And the more you get, the more points you get. You can try and spin these gyrodenes and pulsars, which are really cool because every round they're going to just trigger and get you more and more points each round and keep basically being a nice smooth income of points. But I love the dice drafting system in this game, as at the start of the round, a bunch of dice are rolled and they're allocated to different spots depending on the pit value, and then depending on the kind of median average of those dice values, then it depends on what it's going to cost you to draft a certain type of dice. So if you constantly take low dice, then the chances are you're going to move up on a track to give you better initiative. But if you're constantly taking the high dice, then you are going to fall further down on that track, which can make you not get bonuses or can lose you initiative, which can be really important because everything is scarce. You want to be the first to get things done in this place because grabbing things is really important quickly. So yeah, initiative is very, very important, and that all ties back to that single action of which dice are you going to draft from round to round. I love the variability of this game. You've got loads of different technologies which can break the rules and let you do things which you normally wouldn't be able to do. And I think this game is an absolute breeze to play. A real low rules overhead, but still having lots of depth here. Again, one of those games. It really feels like you're not going to get much done in the game, especially in the first few rounds. Then as the later rounds go on, you're getting more and more done, and it's so satisfying, and you're pretty much showered in points no matter what you do. But love this one, a fantastic game by Vladimir Suki. That is Pulsar 2849. At number 34, I have Chinatown. This one is by far my favourite negotiation game ever to exist. This one, the idea is you're trying to get as much money as you can by building these different shops and restaurants, and the bigger footprint of these shops and restaurants that you build generally means the more money you're going to bring into your fold each round. But that is kind of the premise of the game, but it's not as easy as it sounds, because this game is all based on negotiation. So everything is up for trade in this game, and all you're going to do on your turn is you're going to draw a bunch of cards, and you're going to allocate these tokens just to show that these buildings, which match with the cards you've drawn, are yours for the round. But it doesn't mean they're locked in. You can still trade them with other people. You can trade shops with shops. You can even trade ownership of shops. You can trade money, and you can strike deals, all trying to formulate the best plan and layout of buildings you can to get the most points. And I love the speculation of this game, because sometimes certain allotments on the board might not be worth much because nobody wants there's no other buildings around it. But every now and then there might be, someone might have, say, 4 shops, and they need that 5th one to get a complete set to get much more money, but you own that particular unit. Therefore, you really have a lot of leverage over your opponent and can really extort them to get loads of money out of that particular placement. Even though it's not worth much to you, it might be worth a fortune to your opponent. And it's all about striking those great deals in order to win the game. But I love the creativity and the freedom in this game it offers. It's just the best example of a worker placement game, of a negotiation game out there. Nothing gets in the way of the negotiation. It really is a free-for-all, and if you have more outgoing players who like to interact and strike deals, then this one is the best game on the market that offers that. That is Chinatown at number 34. At number 33, I have another new entry with Rococo, the deluxe edition. So this was another Grail game of mine that I really wanted for a long time. So this one was out of print for ages, and Eagle Griffin printed it last year in a new deluxified version. And this one is a game all about building these gowns and decorations for this kind of grand ball, really. And it's an area control game. As you're trying to have the people or the aristocracy dressed in your gowns in the best balls in order to get the most points. But additionally, you need to collect fabrics in order to build these gowns in the first place. You want to build these decorations. It has a real cool element of hand management, as each of your turns you are playing one of these cards which will have a benefit on them, but they'll also have almost like a ranking on them. So you've got your like apprentices, you've got your masters, you've got your like journeymen, which all range in the different skills, and sometimes you might have to play a certain card in order to take a certain ability, and managing that is really difficult thing to do, and can be quite thinky at times. But I love how simple the game is in its purity. But that synergised with the hand management really does ramp it up and make you think outside the box. Gorgeous to look at, probably one of the most beautiful games I have in my collection. And this one was, again, out of print for a long time. I think a lot of the hype built up about it, because when games become really scarce to get, then normally sometimes they get looked at through rose-tinted glasses and they might not be as good as people remembered them to be. This one, that is certainly not the case. This game is fantastic. I love it. Matthias Kramer, one of my favourite designers, and this one is one of his most iconic designs. That is Rococo by Matthias Kramer. At number 32, I have last year's number 22, so a 10-point drop for Orléans. So Orléans has placed as high as number 9, so it has previously been in my top 10. And before this year, it's placed as low as 22. So it has been a steady fall for this one, but I still love it. This one is one of the most innovative games I've played in terms of bag building, as you're placing these tokens in a bag and then drawing them out and allocating them to different spots on the board in order to climb tracks, in order to get more, more ramped up abilities in terms of drawing more tokens or getting more income. And I love that idea of what you're going to put in your bag, what you're going to potentially sacrifice from your bag to get a benefit. When is the right time to do that? You're going to be traveling around this map and collecting these resources. You want to be overcoming these events. This game is great. So much variability here. Different buildings come up each game, which you can choose and play and give yourself abilities that nobody else has. And it really is a race to climb up a lot of these tracks to get these multiplier bonuses for endgame scoring. A really great game, one that's been kind of top of a lot of people's rankings in the Euro spectrum for a long time. And this one is still one of the best out there. I think the only reason it's fallen is because I haven't played it much this year, whereas previous years I always managed to play it a few times. This one, I don't think I've played it in probably nearly a year. So who knows, with one more play, it could boost straight back up again. But my impression of this game is still it's one of the best ones out there, an amazing game, and the best example of bag building out there. So Orléans, still incredible at number 32. And at number 31, this one might just be the lightest game on the entire top 50. This one is Mandala. So Mandala is a strictly 2-player game about collecting these different cards, and you're going to get points based on these cards that you collect. But I love the flow of this game and how dynamic the scoring is. So all you're going to do in this game is you're going to have these 2 different areas of this board, which is actually a mat in this game, which are called mandalas, and you're either going to play a card in the middle of that mandala in order to draw more cards, but the ones you play in the middle are potentially what you're going to acquire to get scoring or as points. Or you can actually choose to bid different cards in order to claim those ones in the middle, but the order in which you acquire these cards is important, because the first colour you collect is only going to be worth 1 point each, then the second one is going to be worth 2 points each, and so on. So even though I might collect, say, a yellow card first, they may be worth 1 point to me, but they could be worth 5 points to my opponent. And I've got to be really careful about how I use that information, because I want to be using cards that my opponent wants in order to bid for other cards so that they don't have access to them. And this game is such a cool back and forth, smooth game, that, to be honest, I was absolutely enamoured with when I played this one, and I still am. I think this one is remarkable to me that this game was only released a couple of years ago. It feels like this is a game that was probably 100 years old. It just feels timeless, it feels classic, and I think this game is going to age wonderfully like a fine wine, because out of all the 2-player games out there, this one is by far my favourite one. So much depth here, but it still manages to feel quite light and breezy and just fun, and it's quick as well. I don't think there's many games out there with the amount of depth that Mandala offers in such a quick time frame. You know, it takes about 20 minutes to play, and the satisfaction you get in that 20-minute game is outstanding. So love this one. It is incredible and the best 2-player only game that I've ever played. That is Mandala at number 31. So I hope you've enjoyed this second installment of my top 50 board games of all time. If you have, please hit like and subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos too. And for everyone else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye.